What if it rained food? What if Earth was a cube? What if we had 9 lives? What if bits could fly? It's absurd. If money grew on trees, if we didn't have knees, if we walked through life slightly magnetical, it's absurd. Absurd Hypotheticals.
Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben.
So, I brought my cat to the vet recently for his checkup, and first off, did you guys know my cat has a very bad report card at the vet?
This does not surprise me, having met your cat.
So, little backstory. So my cat Rocky, he grew up in a house with a bunch of other cats and pets, and so he was not the nicest when we got him at like 1 year old. But he's gotten gradually better as he's been a single cat in a household without so many other pets to fight with. So the first couple times we brought him, he was, pointy and not helpful. And so apparently got like some red flag or another. And then the next time we brought him in for a checkup, as we were walking down the hallway with him in the cat carrier, the bottom and top half of the carrier separated, dumping my cat into the hallway. And so, of course, he tried to escape, and I caught him against the wall, but like 6 inches above the ground. So he didn't get a good report card there. So they sent me home that time with sedatives to feed to my cat before we bring him to the vet. And good news, that was just some fun backstory about the vet. So this story is not about my cat going crazy at the vet again, which is good. This story is about, I was waiting in the vet office, and they have like a scrolling thing of what they do and all these different services they offer. And one of them was acupuncture.
Huh.
My vet offers animal acupuncture. Non-ironically.
I don't feel like cats would want needles in them, generally.
That's what I said.
Is it only limited to cats, or is it any type of animal?
I think so. I asked about it because we're sitting in the waiting room for 15 minutes and this thing kept scrolling on, and I'm like, and so the my cat's like cardiologist, someone who actually, the veterinarian who actually, whose time is actually valuable. I didn't mean it like that. I meant she's very busy. like you can chat with the attendants for a bit sometimes, but she was like kind of like one of those in and out. Like she stops by, gives us the rundown, and then usually leaves like right away.
Yeah.
So she was like, any questions? And I'm like, sorry, it's not related to my cat, but like, you guys offer acupuncture? And so apparently animals are super into it.
Really?
Like once like whatever like the first needle's in, like they'll just like totally go with it. And apparently like almost as a rule, they don't mind it at all. And I'm like, I can't imagine that being true at all, because like
right.
If I pet my cat in the wrong way, he's like, no, F off, I'm gonna scratch you. But like I could just stab him with needles instead?
Do they have a price for this?
I did not ask about the price. I didn't want to give the wrong impression that I was interested in getting acupuncture for my cat. But apparently it's like can be effective for like chronic pain illnesses and whatnot. Like, for what they're supposed to be good for humans for too. You can just do it for pets. And then I Googled it, and there was like a diagram of like an acupuncture diagram for dogs. I'm like, this is amazing.
I wonder where because obviously you can do it for dogs and cats. I wonder where the line is for like this animal we can't do.
I think it depends on needle length. Like you can't like do a hamster, because like if you poke a hamster with a needle, it's like that's it. It's gonna go through the hamster.
Can you like do it on a horse or something?
Oh, going big too, huh?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I don't see why not. I don't know.
Google just how to help your horse with acupuncture. There's a 3.5-minute YouTube video on it. Sorry, there's 3 YouTube videos in a row. All the previews are horse acupuncture.
I see. Okay.
Run them by Nat Geo Wild. So
that's actually legit.
So it's probably
all right.
legit.
It's not just like that's gonna be like there's YouTube videos for everything. Yeah, like.
So yeah, I mean, I guess the real thing, but like my instinct was like, stay in your goddamn lane, veterinarians.
Right.
Don't try to sell me on like homeopathy for my cat.
Do you think they have to like take a different class for that?
Yeah. So she said they had a specialist, and like they actually had like one doctor who knew how to do it.
Okay.
And they would do it. They'd have like 3 days a week that they would offer. When they're working, they can offer the acupuncture.
Right.
This is bizarre.
So yeah, you can specialize. That's a niche. If you're just looking for a job and you don't have one, learn like dog acupuncture, and you can just be the person who does that. You will not have, competition for your job. But yeah, I just wanted to share that animals can get acupuncture, and apparently it's a real thing.
So are you going to get it for Rocky?
Absolutely not. Why would I ever do that? He doesn't have any condition that's even close to needing acupuncture.
Oh, he might like it. You don't know.
It's not for their enjoyment. It's a veterinary procedure.
Does he have... I guess you don't know. He doesn't have chronic pain.
Yeah, he doesn't have chronic pain.
Well, he hasn't told you, at least.
Yeah.
He doesn't have severe chronic pain.
Are there, pet masseuses?
Oh, that I'm sure.
That has to be a thing, right?
There's, definitely pet resorts.
Yeah, okay, so now I'm just seeing pictures of dogs getting massages, and this is actually wonderful.
The closest result for Google is, It's a Dog's Life mobile pet massage. Only It's has a Z on it for no reason.
This is fascinating.
All right. We should probably do our podcast that we do. So our question this week is, what if was like a board game?
By he means life.
Yeah.
Shit.
I was wondering if I just heard that wrong or not.
Nope.
I actually also wasn't sure. I felt like I said it wrong, and then neither of you called me out on it for a good second, so I was going to try to move on.
Do we want to redo it or just roll with it?
What if life was like a board game? Ben, since you're full of sass today, you can start.
I am quite sassy. So I took probably the first one that you thought of when you heard this question, which is Monopoly. Almost everyone's played Monopoly. You got the basic idea. You go around a board, you roll dice, move around, buy properties, start hating your friends because they take all your money because you land on their properties. And that's kind of it. So that's Monopoly. So a couple of facts about Monopoly. One that is sort of probably the well-known one is that it was made by an anti-monopolist back in the early 20th century. And then, of course, it got stolen from her, and she only made $500 from it, so that's cool. Go capitalism.
Huzzah, Hasbro!
Yeah, sort of proving her point, actually, a little bit.
Or was it Milton Bradley first?
I think it was Parker Brothers first.
Parker Brothers.
Yeah.
Milton Bradley does...
Well, because actually, what's funny, it wasn't actually them that stole it. Basically, it was so she had made this game, and there was this couple who, had a copy of it. And this friend of theirs came over and played it with them that evening, back when it was still called the Landlord's Game, which was her title for it. And he really liked it. So he asked them for a copy of the rules. And then he just started selling it and called it Monopoly. It wasn't even like a big company, saw the game and started producing it, mass producing or something. It was just some dude was yeah, this is fun. I should sell this. It was kind of bonkers. Anyway, the other fact that's really cool that I learned that I hadn't heard about before, that's entirely unrelated to anything with my answer, but basically in 1941, the British Secret Intelligence Service, Jesus, had the licensed manufacturer of the game in the UK make a special edition for World War II prisoners of war held by the Nazis. And they hid maps, compasses, real money, and other stuff like that inside of them, and then smuggled them into POW camps.
What?
To help them escape.
That's cool.
Yeah, they were the SIS made, or the British Secret Service made fake charity organizations that donated them to the POW camps, which is absolutely buck wild.
I don't want there to be a war, but I just want there to be an excuse to pull fucking shenanigans like this.
Right. It's so stupid. It's amazing.
It's cool that they allowed Monopoly in the POW camp.
Right. That's also kind of funny on just on its own as well, is that they just brought in board games to POW camps apparently.
Well, I mean, it's Monopoly. That's a form of torture.
Well, yeah, this is also true.
Or, it's we need to keep these guys, slightly occupied for the next 5 hours. Oh, I know, Monopoly.
Yeah, that's actually a great way to make people spend, it's semi-entertainment that takes a long time. It's perfect. Anyway, what if life was like Monopoly? So the first thing I want to figure out, what actually is a turn in Monopoly? In real world terms. So in a turn, you roll the dice, go somewhere, and either, buy a place and stay there, or if someone already owns it, pay them money and stay there. So basically, the strong implication here is that you are either, living at a place or renting a place or whatever for the night, which is quite reinforced by the fact that the improvements you get are houses and hotels. So it gets a little weird because you can go twice if you roll doubles, which kind of throws a monkey wrench into things, but
Time warp.
Yeah, we're going to say that one turn is 1 day. And it's basically, you do your stuff and then go somewhere and sleep. So that works out pretty well. Second up, getting paid. Obviously, when you pass go, you get $200. And this is literally a salary. That's what it actually says on the board. This is your salary. So how often do you pass go? How frequently are you getting paid? So there are 40 squares on a Monopoly board. You roll 2 dice. The average roll there is 7. That gets juiced up a little bit because of doubles. But on average, it takes about 5 turns to go around the board. Which once again, this works out with our 1 week, or sorry, one day per turn thing. This is like, once a week you're getting paid effectively. So that, this is working out pretty well. Right now this is reasonable for life. Then we get to going to jail. So, I don't know about you guys. I've never personally gone to jail.
No, I can't say I have.
Nope.
In Monopoly, you go to jail quite a bit, actually. Because basically, anytime you roll doubles 3 times in a row, you just go straight to jail. This is pretty rare. It's like a 1 in 216 chance on any given turn you will roll 3 doubles. So that doesn't happen all that often, but that's 1 every 216 days is still obviously far more often.
That's like once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also there's a space on the board that sends you to jail. And, once again, there's only 40 spaces. So including doubles, just on every turn, ignoring the, rolling doubles 3 times, you have about a 1 in 34 chance of going to jail. So you're going to jail like once a month.
It's not great.
It seems bad. Yeah. The thing is, though, going to jail actually doesn't seem all that bad in Monopoly. You don't lose anything. You don't lose any property or anything.
I forget how long you stay there.
Yeah, so you can only stay there a max of 3 days.
Oh, okay.
You can still get paid while you're in jail. Not from passing go, obviously, because you're in jail. But like if someone, rents your property, you get the rent from it. And yeah, so if you roll doubles, you get out for free. So you just get free room and board for 1 to 3 nights.
What's a nice way of thinking about jail?
Well, apparently everyone goes to jail, so it's not like there's no, it's not like it's something you did. You just it happened. I don't know. And then even if you don't get out for free, it's only $50, which over the 3 nights is like $16.67, which is the midpoint of rents in the game. The last orange property, which is the one right before free parking, it's like right at halfway, is like $16, and the one right after is $18. So it's like, the midpoint. So it's a reasonable price. So these are kind of our parameters here, is that, you're going around the board, and if someone doesn't own the property, you buy it. If someone does own the property, you pay them and you stay there. That's kind of what you do. You get paid every once in a while, and that's it. So how does life go? You basically just kind of walk around in a circle, doing your stuff, and everyone swaps money all the time until someone has all the money and everyone else is bankrupt. And if we started right now, there'd already be, like 3 super wealthy people who just own everything. How unlike real life. And this is where I kind of ran into an issue when I was trying to make this question work, because, like the only way you get money is by passing go. In order to pass go, you have to stay at a bunch of places. And once those places are built up, it's like crazy expensive to stay there. So there's no way you'll ever actually make it to go. So... And I guess the other thing is that, unlike a lot of board games, Monopoly has player elimination when you go bankrupt, so you're just out of the game. And I can't just say that you die. That's not going to work. That's not tenable. What happens when someone wins? Are they just like the last person alive? Like, how does that work? And then who is actually giving the money out from the bank? Because that's also just kind of appearing. And this is where I started asking the question, is Monopoly World actually capitalist? Because I don't think it is. I think Monopoly World is actually a communist paradise. Bear with me here.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the explanation.
Okay.
I've got some gears spinning, but there's not any of those little gears in between that make it all work yet.
There's only one way to actually, if you land on a property someone else owns, you guys just trade money. No one's actually there's no money entering the system. There's no actual production in Monopoly. All of the production comes from passing go. That's the only way new money actually enters the system, or new, value enters the system, is from passing go. And that's just coming from this ethereal bank. that is we're going to call the government. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm just going to put this out here because this could be taken
I'm really
out
just
of context.
imagining that YouTube video, though, where it's like the screen turns red and in quotes, it's like, the government.
So all the production is coming from the government. The government owns all the means of production. That's communism. I have further evidence. If her property is mortgaged, so the bank owns it, or in this case the government, you can just go there and stay for free. Which, generally, that's not really how that works.
Yeah, no, bankruptcy courts are less friendly than that.
And once again, there's no actual consequences for going to jail, aside from just a small tax if you're there too long. It's just a government-owned housing facility that you can stay at, much like free parking or any of those. Or I guess the ghost space, technically, as well. So I think the way that Monopoly life actually works is it's basically a communist paradise where this whole situation here is just a way to allow people to share the feeling of being wealthy. All of this is bullshit.
It's all an illusion.
It's not really an illusion, but
this is play money.
It is. It is. You go around, someone gets to have boardwalk for a couple of weeks, and that's really fun for them, and then they get all the money, and then everyone resets, and everyone gets a handout and starts over again.
But what if there's no reset? What happens to the players that are eliminated, Ben?
Well, then you fucking die, and this answer's a lot sadder and shorter. Those are my options. Communist paradise where everyone dies, like, immediately. So I don't know which you personally want to believe in, but I'm going to go with communist paradise.
So many countries were faced with this exact choice in the world.
So in summary, this whole time we were wrong. Monopoly is not actually super capitalist. It is in fact super communist, much like Monopoly life would be.
So peeling back the curtain for a second. Ben postponed our recording of this episode by like a day because he was like, I gotta figure this out. And what I didn't know was that he was figuring out how Monopoly is communism.
No, so legit, the problem was, okay, when we were planning on recording this before, what happened was I was at this point where I was like, so someone has all the money and what the fuck happens now? Because it also just happened immediately, because that's how Monopoly works.
Well, at least 5 hours would have gone by.
Well, yeah, so, you know. But no, yeah, it's like, and also it was too good to, it had to be this 1 day per turn thing, and then it was going to take like a month for everyone to get killed by bankruptcy. Which just seemed a little bleak, even for us.
Cause of death, bankruptcy.
Yeah.
But it's okay, he's living in he's moved on to the communist paradise.
Communist paradise of Monopoly. Thanks, Uncle Moneybags.
Is that his name?
I can't remember. Something like that. Is that right? Hold on.
I think he's just the Monopoly man.
I feel like he has a name.
Monopoly man's name.
I'm on a Monopoly
Uncle
wiki.
Pennybags. Full name was
close.
given as Milburn Pennybags.
Uncle Milburn Pennybags.
Milburn?
The character in jail is named Jake the Jailbird, and the police officer on the go to jail is named Officer Malroy.
Oh wait, hold on. I got some I guess, well, not really bad news, just sort of some news. In 2000, Hasbro renamed the Monopoly mascot to Mr. Monopoly. Before that, he was called Rich Uncle Pennybags.
Mine says in 1999, Rich Uncle Pennybags was renamed Mr. Monopoly.
What?
Conspiracy.
Who are you gonna believe? Your weird website.
They renamed him. Maybe they renamed him twice. Like they just were like, all right, guys, his name is Mr. Monopoly now. And then like in 2000, like, all right, we got to rebrand Mr. Monopoly. We got to rebrand Uncle Pennybags. It's like, did anyone tell the boss that his name is Mr. Monopoly now? It's like, no. Wait, let's do that and just go home.
Wait. Question, on your website, is there a period after Mr. or not?
Yes.
Damn it. There goes that theory.
There's also a period after Monopoly, though.
There's
the end of the sentence.
Oh, well, okay, you got me there.
But it's ambiguous. Maybe there's another period. Can we move on to something that might be like, I don't know, content?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, what'd you do?
Real content.
Yeah, we can move away from communism. So Ben did What If Life Was Monopoly. I did What If Life Was Life.
Chris, we're going to talk about this one.
And by life, I mean the game of life.
Ah.
Game of Life is a board game. I didn't just ignore the question.
We got there.
Wow, we were all so worried.
I know. So the Game of Life, the original game, was created in 1860 by Milton Bradley. And since then, there have been like a lot of different variations of it. Obviously not as... Before the show, we were looking up variations of Monopoly, and there's like thousands of those.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
Not like that was an exaggeration. There's literally multiple thousands of Monopoly games that are produced.
There aren't that many of the Game of Life, but there's like a handful. And I decided to go with the 1991 version just because that's one I grew up with. That's one I played when I was a kid. And I also interpreted this question a little bit differently than Ben. So Ben did like the game spans his entire life. That's what he did. I kind of did like, if you're leaving your house and you're going to a destination, like if you're walking to work or something, then your starting point, since the Game of Life, it has like a starting point and end point on the board, your home is the starting point and your destination is the end point. And then like the game is just going there. So that's what I did. So just a little bit of like basic information about the game. So the game doesn't have dice. It has a spinner instead that's 1 through 10. And there are different paths you can take. So the number of spaces to the destination varies depending on the path. But the shortest path is 122 spaces. And then the longest one is 134. It's an average of 128. So there aren't that many choices that you make in the game, but there are like a couple. So the first immediate choice you make is you start off choosing either going to college or just starting your career right away. And the difference between the two is usually if you go to college, then you get a better chance at higher salaries because you get more choices for the careers you can make. But it's a longer path, and then the career is a shorter path, and you're blocked off from those degree professions, but you also get an extra payday.
You're also saddled with crippling debt if you go to college.
This is true.
Yeah. You have to pay. You start with debt. So there's a bunch of different professions that you can choose. There's like teacher, doctor, accountant. Those are the 3 salary degree required ones. And then the not degree required ones are superstar, salesperson, travel agent, athlete, artist, and police officer. And those change throughout the different editions. But in this edition, those are the professions. And then the salaries range from $20,000 to $100,000. And like, depending on what profession you have a certain range that you can get for your salary. So if you choose to go to college, then you get to pick 3 random cards for your profession salary, and then from those 3 random cards you choose one. If you choose for a career, then you just get assigned one, and you're stuck with that one.
See, this is unrealistic in that you would have 3 whole choices after getting a college degree for one.
Right. I majored in this one thing, so now I can be a doctor, a teacher, or an athlete.
Oh, I was being more bitter about the state of the world, where it's just like, I got my college degree, and like, okay, there are no jobs, and it's like, oh, great. But yeah, no, you definitely can't be a doctor with my engineering degree.
According to this game, you can. So on the board, there are 19 payday spaces. If you take the career path, and there's 18 if you take the college path. And every time you either land or pass over that space, you don't actually have to land on it. You get paid whatever your salary is. So that's like a lot of money, I guess. If you're just going...
It's a lot of money, yeah.
It's a lot of money, just period. I don't know why I'm qualifying it with other things. It's a lot of money. And then along your path, there are certain milestones you hit. So the first milestone, if you go to college, is graduation, which you hit like 9% of the way through your trip. After that, there's marriage, which is 14%. Buying a house is 23%. And then basically nothing... There are no other milestones after that until you retire, and it's just getting paid or like hitting random spots that you like do random stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's fairly accurate.
Yeah, I guess so.
You graduate, you get married, you buy a house, and then you do nothing with the rest of your life.
And you just work for the rest of your life until you retire, I guess.
Yeah, and then you die.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're cheerful. We're cheerful.
Yeah, this is a happy episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
I think it's because Boston's finally getting cold and wintry, and it's just like that seasonal depression kicking in. I'm just like, screw everything.
Well, we're getting to the holiday season, though. We should be cheerful and holly.
Nah.
I'm going to a tropical island in like 3 days, also, which is I'm gonna be much cheerier next time we record.
Yeah. And also along the way, you collect these life tiles, which they just say like different accomplishments, like you cured the common cold, or you climbed Mount Everest. I didn't know how to like work that into real life, because like if you're walking to work, I guess the way I interpreted the question walk into work and you cure the common cold. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, you just have a eureka moment, and you call up your pharmaceutical buddy who has his degree in accounting, and you're like, "Hey, dude, I figured out how to cure the common cold." And he's like,
tell him.
He's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna go to the lab and get that started." And he steps outside and he's like, "God, I'm gonna have to put it off. I just had 3 kids."
Yeah. So I just, because each of these accomplishments are assigned with the money value. So I just said, whenever you get one of these, you get more money. That's kind of what this whole thing like led to, is getting a lot of money, just because you're going to hit 19 different spots where you get paid, and then you get all these accomplishment things. So like basically every time you go somewhere, you leave your house, you're going to get a lot of money. But that not only good stuff can happen when you play the game of life, there's also some bad stuff that can happen. There are 4 car accident spaces and there's 4 house disaster spaces. So you have a chance of like your car, your house getting destroyed. But there's only 4 spaces for each of those. It's not that many. So it's not really going to happen that often. I think the way that this is going to go, if you play an entire game of life for every trip, you're going to end up buying a lot of houses. Some of them will get destroyed. Some of them won't. You'll buy a bunch of cars. Eventually, you'll get a lot of money. And you'll sell all your cars and houses. You'll get even more money. You'll just have a lot of money.
Yeah, you're just like, wow, so much money.
Yeah. And actually, the original version of this game, it did have like way more bad things in it. So like in the 1991 version, when you retire, you can choose to either go to Millionaire Estates, which is like the good one if you have a lot of money, and then Countryside Acres is the bad one if you don't have a lot of money. In the original game, it was Millionaire Tycoon instead of Millionaire Estates. Instead of Countryside Acres, it was the Poor Farm.
Wow.
Jesus. I mean, that's basically what it is. I never quite got that in life, why they gave you a choice. Like, you get to the end of the board and you're like, oh yeah, so you have 2 choices. You can either, count your money or just concede.
There was something you could still do if...
So if you go to the bad one, then players can't steal any of your stuff anymore.
Oh, that's it.
But if you go to the good one, they still can.
I thought they couldn't steal your shit anyway.
Now, if you run out of life tiles and someone lands on a life tile spot, then they, instead of like picking it from the pile, they just take it from...
We've used up all the life experiences, so I'm gonna have to steal yours.
I'm gonna take credit.
Hey, my life tile just says invented Monopoly.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, the original game also had spots where you could... there's a gambling spot, there was a prison spot, a poverty spot, a disgrace spot, and there's a suicide spot.
What?
Whoa!
Yeah.
Damn!
It was pretty dark.
Jesus.
So I think it's a good thing we're not playing the original.
I don't know, I kind of want to.
Life was hardcore.
Yeah. Instead, we have just like, you won a contest. You did something good. So...
What? I need to look into this.
The one problem... So generally right now, everything sounds pretty good. I think the one problem, though, is that... So like every time you play, you basically have to get married. You don't have a choice not to get married. And then there's also a chance that you have children. And if you land on one of those spots, you can't really say no. So I think every time you leave your house to go somewhere, you're definitely going to have a new wife or husband, whatever your preference is. And you're going to get a lot of kids. So like your family's going to grow like exponentially.
Well, linearly.
Oh, linearly, I guess. I don't...
Because you still only get, your new spouses and kids do not beget more spouses and kids.
Well, if they're playing too, I don't know how this works, but if they play, then,
shit.
Yeah.
Well, no, they don't play. You don't put the kid back at the you put the kid back at the start at college. Life generations. I'm creating a variant.
Well, I don't know. It was really weird because like, yeah, every time you leave, then you have to go to college. Every time you leave your house, you go to college.
Or you go straight to work.
But you do something different than you did last time. So, I don't know. The rules are weird.
I mean, I feel like the narrative of the game is meant to be life once. Like,
yeah, I know. So it doesn't really work in my context. But
what if it was communist?
Yeah, it could be.
Stop. Well, I mean, once you're married to everybody, isn't it just communism?
No, that's just a commune. Hey.
And they're actually, because I looked up like what happens if you have because there's only 4 spots for kids in your car on your like little car piece thing, but you can get more than 4 kids in the game if that just happens to be where you land. So I didn't know what the rules were for that, and I looked it up, and like nobody could answer that question. Everyone, like, people kept on asking the question. Nobody had answers for it. It's not specified in the rules. I don't know what happens with that. But yeah, obviously having a lot of kids is a problem in this game. So you're gonna have a lot of kids.
you just stack them up. I know I've definitely had more than the 4 kids, and I just stacked it in the car.
Yeah, you kind of like wedge them
probably
in.
not safe. But,
Not safe at all.
Just one of them strapped to the roof. If they fall off, I got extras.
I guess you'll have like a bunch of cars, so you can have more than one car, I guess. So I think in general, if this is how your life is, you're gonna want to not leave your house, because even though you get like a ton of money, you don't want a giant family. So I think you're just gonna work from home, work remotely. You can get like, they have grocery store delivery services. You can get everything you need on Amazon. And then if you need emergency money, then you leave your house and play the game of life.
What if your job involved mostly walking, like if you're a mailman?
Well, you just don't be a mailman.
You wouldn't for long.
Yeah.
Who's gonna deliver the mail?
Someone else who went outside.
All your kids. So that's what I did. Just don't leave your house.
Fantastic. The only winning move is not to play.
Yeah, not to play life.
So by the way, I looked up the original rules of the game of life, and incredibly, so with the Millionaire Tycoon thing, did you look at how that worked, Chris?
I think I don't know what you're referring to.
So basically, yeah, like I said, you either went to Millionaire Acres or you tried to be the Millionaire Tycoon, which is basically you just put all of your money on one number on the board and spin the wheel, and if it comes up, you just win, and the game ends.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
It's a better catch-up mechanic than just you concede and go retire in the country.
I mean, is it?
It gives you 1-10 shot, man.
I
The
guess.
game's not over.
I guess.
The game's not over till it's over.
Oh, wow.
What's like the real life equivalent of that though?
You buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You put all your
You
money
put all
on...
your money in one. You put all your money in a risky investment, and it comes back tenfold.
You get a roulette table.
Yeah. Actually, it's like literally a roulette table.
Yeah.
That is true. That would work. That's the correct metaphor. That's the one.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Marcus, what did you do?
So I was trying to also pick a classic game, but none of them quite worked. Like Scrabble and like Snakes and Ladders. Snakes and Ladders I thought about for a minute, and I'm like, no, I don't
Yeah.
want to just talk about snakes.
Chris and I talked about that one,
20
but there's
minutes.
just not really a whole lot there, because that game does fucking
It's
nothing.
a really
Also,
straightforward game.
I looked into Candyland, but there's not even like, there's only like 4 spaces that do anything in Candyland. Otherwise, you're just pulling a card and going to a color, and that's it.
Right.
Candyland actually, based on the definition of a game, does not count as a game.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Why? Just because you don't make choices?
You literally do not make a single choice in
Right.
the game.
Yeah.
Like you literally just roll the dice and follow what it does. Like
Well, that's true for Chutes and Ladders too, right? Or Snakes and Ladders.
you can choose whether to go up the ladder or not.
Oh, you
So
can?
there's theoretically a choice.
Oh.
Wait, you can?
Yeah, it's
Why would you not?
you would
why
never choose not to, but I think you can choose not to go up the ladder.
Fucking stupid
Okay.
game. Whatever. All right. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyhow, so I didn't pick a classic game. What I picked was Dungeons and Dragons because I love Dungeons and Dragons. So for those of you who have not played Dungeons and Dragons is a role-playing game where there's all the players are, an adventurer. There's a warrior or a wizard or a warlock or a druid or whatever. And one person is not a character. They are the dungeon master, and they basically take the players through a story. And so the dungeon master will tell people kind of how things go. It's like, hey, you're in a dank cave. There's, you hear footsteps behind you, and you turn around. There's 5 goblins, and they're, and then you start the combat in that. So I decided to ignore the dungeon master because 1, it makes things very, very, very hand wavy very quickly. And 2, your experience is going to vary a lot based on the personality of your dungeon master. And I don't know who would be your life dungeon master. I don't think I want to give anybody that much power.
The government.
Yeah, the government. The one big friendly DM for everybody. But it does have more than enough core rules for me to kind of go into. And so kind of in your guys' vein, in that there being spaces. So Dungeons and Dragons takes place, you play with little miniatures on a grid. So your space occupies 5 foot by 5 foot square. And then you kind of have your turn, and on your turn you can move and you can do like one action. So the first thing I was looking at was all the different moves and actions that you can take, because in fiction you're like this big bulky warrior guy, but if real life was like that, everyone would be kind of with those same capabilities. So I'm like, oh, can you do some crazy stuff like run super fast or be super strong? And so the first one I looked at was like walking and running. So in Dungeons and Dragons, you can move 30 feet in a turn. One turn represents 6 seconds of in-game time. So you can move 60 feet in 6 seconds. So 10 feet per second. And assuming you're not actually fighting anybody in your day-to-day life, you can choose to also do the sprint action, which lets you double that. So you can go 60 feet in 6 seconds, which is the equivalent of running about 6.5 miles an hour. Which is actually way lower than the average person's sprinting speed of about 16 miles an hour.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
So the walking speed is actually pretty close to the regular walking speed, but the sprinting speed is quite slow. And then I started looking at other stuff, like long jumping maxes out about 20 feet when the world record's like 29. High jump is you could technically beat the world record if you were like max stats. But the regular numbers are pretty reasonable. Swimming speed's completely reasonable. Lifting strength completely reasonable. And I got kind of frustrated because all of the goddamn like physical actions that you could take were like entirely within the realm of possibility. I'm like, damn, they did a good job of.
Life is D&D.
Life is D&D. So there wasn't too much in that specific vein, but there were a couple of things that this combat grid does make entertaining. One of them, just like one of my favorite side rules, is the game has what they call attacks of opportunity. So whenever someone leaves the 5 foot radius around you, you get the opportunity to attack them for free. So you can just like stab them in the back. I don't know whether this is particularly relevant besides like crimes, but basically every time like anyone steps away from you, you have the option to just like go attack them and not have any and they can't quote unquote do anything about it for that hot second. So I don't know if it like goes into like sports, and I was like thinking like football, but you're kind of trying to stop people anyway in football, so I don't know if you're better at it if you have just this
well, the qualifier is that they have to turn around first, right?
They just have to leave. Yeah, they have to leave your area of influence or whatever it is. But I just like the idea that anytime anyone, I guess I have the option in real life.
I was
going
to say,
like,
that
step
is
away from me, I could
open to you.
Well, you said they can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah, but thinking about it now that I've said it out loud, in real life, no one's going to see it coming. It's called a sucker punch. Like, I could just deck somebody if I really wanted to. That's a lot of power to have. Everyone use that responsibly. Listen to Spider-Man. And the other one, which I think is more relevant to create real world problems, is the fact that one grid space is 5 feet by 5 feet, and only one character can occupy one grid space. So your people density that can have in any one spot is actually really low. So like take something like simple like a restaurant, where you have to be in one space, and then the person sitting next to you has to be in another space 5 feet away. Then you gotta have the table, and then like the people on the other side. So now you've already allocated like a 10 by 15 foot area to seat 4. And I don't know if you can design a restaurant that can survive with that much just wasted space around. Like your rent is just going to be astronomical for you to seat enough people to make any money. And I don't think the ratio of how much you're paying for your square footage will ever coincide to how much money you're bringing in from that many tables.
So restaurants won't exist.
You could do takeout. You could do like exclusively like your whole restaurant is the kitchen, which will also have to be kind of expanded. And people have to just kind of like walk up to like a window and like take it away, I guess.
You could have fancy restaurants still.
I guess the prices would just have to be incredibly high.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
To make up for your lack of volume. The only thing that would be profitable would be a very fancy restaurant.
Only rich people go to restaurants.
Yeah, there's just takeout restaurants, like window to counter takeout restaurants, and then a big gap, and then fancy restaurants.
Capitalism.
Woo! Taking out the middle class.
But what if it was communist? No.
But yeah, restaurants is one example. Like other stuff like theaters or stadiums or even just like walking down the sidewalk is going to be is going to get complicated. It's just going to be a lot less efficient for everybody.
Yeah, I get within 5 feet of people all the time.
Subways just are terribly inefficient now.
Oh, yeah.
You can fit like 4 people in a train car, which will also be bad because you can't run it. You can't even like jog anywhere. You're going so slow. So then there's one more thing in Dungeons and Dragons. So whenever you try to do anything in Dungeons and Dragons, you make a ability check against it. So if I want to lift up this big rock, I would do a strength check, which means I have a strength stat. It's like a +3 bonus, and I roll a 20-sided die. And depending on how high I roll, it says how successful or bad I am at lifting that rock. So if I roll like a 3, I probably won't be able to pick up the rock. And if I roll like a 15, there's a good chance I'm like, oh yeah, I got this big rock. And so the difficulty of these things is kind of based on how hard it would be to do in real life. So like if I'm picking up a very small rock, the difficulty might be like a 3 or better gets it. And that kind of fixes a lot of things. But the problem is there's a mechanic in the game for critical successes and critical failures. So if you try to do something and you roll a 1 on your 20-sided die, it doesn't matter what other bonuses you have. You fail horribly. And if you roll a 20, you automatically succeed at whatever you're doing. So this gives you just a 5% chance to absolutely royally fuck up anything that you do. So let's go back to the restaurant for just a hot second. Let's say you serve, well, this is an unreasonable number based on how my restaurants work now, but let's say you serve 100 people in a night. Odds are you're going to fuck up 5 of those dinners really, really badly.
And they will have paid a ton of money to be there.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just you cooking it. Like, never mind the waitress, getting the order, and then, the guy cooking it, and then the waitress, physically bringing it over to your table. Who knows? She might trip. So depending on, how many steps you count it as, your odds of, getting a dinner is pretty low. Or not pretty low, but lower than it should be. It's not like, the 98% whatever success rate that you have, in modern restaurants. That said, it goes the other way too. 5 of those dinners are going to be the best goddamn dinners these people have ever had. Which I guess might balance the scales a little bit, but it just feels like too many there are too many things that should not have a 5% failure rate.
I think that with regards to restaurants specifically, I see the way around this. I think that this is what makes a good restaurant now. Because you had that 5% complete fuck-up risk and that 5% absolutely awesome risk, you basically just account for the fact that you're going to probably make 20% more meals than you actually need, knowing that you're going to have to just toss 5% of them, and you want to give out as many of the good 5% as possible.
Or make 20 times as many meals as you need and know that you're going to serve only the best food.
Those are the best restaurants. Yeah, you got 20 chefs all going.
You have to jack up the price even more then.
Exactly. It's incredibly wasteful and quite bad.
I just got a mental image of a whole line of chefs, and just in front of them's a little spot for them to roll their die, and he's got a steak in a pan, and he's like, come on, fuck, and just throws it on the ground.
Oh shit. I think what you do actually is you have a two-sided restaurant where one side is the fancy side where you're guaranteeing a really good meal, and the other side is the come to the counter side where you just get whatever meals were not really good.
That's actually a good idea.
Separate the poor from the rich. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Man, this has been a pretty downer episode, huh?
Yeah, I think that's probably the last societal problem that we need to expose on our
board game question.
Our new anarchy podcast, Absurd Hypotheticals.
But guys, what if communism?
All right, Chris, I'll start you off with this one. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hi, I'm back in the call now. So I may have dropped out there a little bit.
That's perfect timing.
Apparently you guys didn't notice.
I literally was starting the Would You Rather, and I'm like, all right, Chris, I'll start with you. Are you ready? And you're like, yes. And I was like, would you? And you're like, hey guys, I'm back in the call.
Okay. Anyway, please continue.
At first I thought maybe you were joking.
Nope. Please continue.
All right, Ben. Obviously, we didn't miss you. So we're absolutely leaving that in.
Please do.
Chris,
Yes.
would you rather wrap everything you eat in bacon or slather it with butter?
Ooh, I like bacon and I like butter.
Okay, I'm trying to think of...
I mean, the positives and the negatives are both pretty obvious to me. Like,
yeah.
the taste will be pretty good, but it's unhealthy for both of them.
Yeah, I think this is more. I think this one is less a what is the correct answer and more is what would you just prefer? Do you prefer butter slathered things or bacon wrapped things?
Well, so I'm trying to think of things that don't really sound like they go with bacon or butter, and how would those be?
There's more things that don't go with bacon, I think.
Are there?
I think
Yeah, I
so.
guess. Yeah, because you can put butter on like desserts, like baked
Yeah.
goods.
Right.
There have been many valiant attempts to put bacon on everything. People have probably tried to put bacon in more
Yeah.
things than they tried to put butter in.
Yeah.
But butter is just like naturally in a bunch of stuff. Or not naturally, but like in recipes of a bunch of things.
Right, but it's not just adding butter. It's slathering things.
Right.
To be fair, the way to make things taste better is half the time just put more butter on it. I told you about that Gordon Ramsay burger recipe thing I saw, right?
No.
Where he literally froze butter and then finely chopped it and then mixed that in with the ground beef before he made the burger.
That's so good.
See, I think the problem here is with the bacon is the texture, because the texture is kind of tough sometimes. Like, it can be crispier, but like sometimes it's a little tougher. So if it's wrapped around something like ice cream or something, and you try to eat the ice cream, it's not gonna stay together.
No, I would eat the shit out of that.
Yeah, you just made a strong case for wrap things in bacon.
Yeah. So I think the bigger problem with bacon is that bacon is for the most part, butter just makes things like butter has a flavor, obviously, but it kind of complements most flavors, whereas bacon can certainly clash with a lot of things.
Actually, now I'm trying to imagine what ice cream with butter on it would taste like, and that doesn't sound great.
Yeah, it wouldn't melt.
Oh, well, I just imagine if it's slathered in butter, I was imagining the butters are already melted.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see.
like a butter
Like when you go to the movie theater.
sauce.
Yeah,
But like real butter.
very real butter.
So here's the thing: if you have to wrap everything you eat in bacon, that shuts off a couple things, like cereal. I don't think you can wrap cereal in bacon successfully.
You can wrap pieces of cereal in bacon.
Also, but slathering in butter does turn off effectively all finger foods.
No, it just makes them a lot harder to eat. Like physically hard to eat.
I'm trying to think if there's anything where you definitely wouldn't be able to do it for either of these. And I can't think of anything.
Milkshakes for bacon. I guess you can technically wrap a milkshake in bacon and then not actually consume the bacon.
Oh, that's an interesting ploy. This the butter slathering definitely gets involved in it, but if you just have everything touch the bacon,
Right.
I feel like wrapping a milkshake in bacon means not wrapping the cup in bacon, but like lining the inside of the cup with bacon.
That sounds disgusting.
let's do this. Let's walk back our last couple meals and see which one they've been improved with.
Okay. Well, I just had soup for dinner.
I think with liquid, you have to line whatever the dish is with bacon.
Okay, so it was a like pumpkin and corn soup with like potatoes and chicken broth.
So that in a bacon bowl doesn't sound awful.
That would work actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would work with the bacon.
And I had a roll with it, which I would also wrap in bacon. So okay, that could work.
All right. You could also add butter to that. I think the butter would have also been a nice accompaniment.
Yes, yeah.
So I had salmon for dinner, which would go both would go well, I think.
Sure,
with
yeah.
that.
I put butter on
Butter's
salmon.
definitely better on that,
Yeah,
though.
I agree.
Man, butter slathered salmon.
So
ooh.
good.
But bacon wrapped salmon is not like I would order that.
Yeah,
If that was on a menu, I'd order it.
I'd consider it.
I think it's just going to be less good, though.
Yeah. I think this is a point. It's a point for
Can
bacon.
I just say I think adding the word bacon wraps always sets expectations way too high.
Yeah, this is
And
true.
it's never as good as you want it to be.
It does.
Like, you're just like, oh, it's bacon wrap, and you get it, and you're just like, kind of just salty.
Yeah. I've actually maintained for a while there's many things that have bacon on them that should not have bacon on them, like sandwiches and stuff. Bacon is a tool.
Yeah, no, you don't need it that many things. Anywho, I had pad thai.
I've actually had bacon pad thai. There's a Thai place in Boston that offers it, and it's okay.
But butter is less appealing to me on the pad thai.
Yeah,
This one
that's
feels
true.
like a good in-between one of like, the bacon's not great and the butter's not
I think
great.
bacon is probably
Yeah.
better, actually.
I mean, the bacon flavor probably goes better with it. It just depends on what you mean by bacon wrapped.
Well, if you're getting in that little like plastic takeout tray, it's just like it's lining the inside of it.
Yeah. All right. I think we've gone through it. Chris, bacon or butter?
I'm gonna say butter, just because I think it's more versatile. I think you can make it work better with things.
Ben?
So I think I'm actually gonna go bacon. I agree that butter is more versatile, but a lot of the things that bacon doesn't really work with are things that I don't eat as much anyway. And technically bacon has some nutritional value, like not a whole lot, but some. Butter has none.
And that's why I'm gonna pick butter. Yeah, no, I'm just imagining all these things slathered in butter, and I don't know. I really just want like butter. Like I was never one of the people to eat a stick of butter, but I would slather that shit on anything right now. Like a good dinner roll with like probably like 1.5 butter packets on it instead of the recommended like half a butter pack. That's gonna be my jam.
What if you just wanted to drink like a glass of water? You have to put butter in it.
Okay. Strong case for bacon. I'm gonna stick to my guns though. I'm gonna
Yeah,
stay
me
with
too.
butter.
I'm sticking with butter.
All right, 2-1. That makes Ben wrong, and any of you listeners who also thought it was bacon wrap wrong. And so with that, that'll be the end of what we're doing today. But before we go, I'd like to remind you guys that we have our Patreon set up now. We have consolidated all our fancy tiers into one low monthly tier of $1 a month, and you get all our Patreon stuff. And the big thing with that is you get our behind-the-scenes episodes that we record every month. It's kind of a more laid-back, chill, hangout vibe. We talk about the previous month's questions, we talk about the making of the show, and we do our wonderful, wonderful thankfulness metaphors at the end. So go check that out. Your support means the world to us. We love you.
That's at www.patreon.com/absurdhypotheticals.
Thank you, Mr. Robot. And you are our bestest absurd hypothetical pals, so we'd love to see you there. But if we don't see you there, we will see you next week, where we answer the following question. What if no one could go outside?